All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I wanted to mention that today is MassCann's first double feature, and we are the second feature. If you missed the 11th virtual education with Bill Downing and Dick Evans, you can absolutely check it out on the website. And then also, if you want to find out any more information about MassCann and all the wonderful things they do for the community, check them out at masscann.org. And also, MassCann is non-for-profit. So if you'd like to become a member for $30 a year, you can find out more about that on their website. And you also get an awesome t-shirt. Today, MassCann is honored to be presenting the second Veterans Panel, which is held on the 22nd of the month. And the reason for that is because statistically, we're losing 22 veterans a day. So with these Veterans Panels, what we're hoping to do is educate, inspire, maybe other people to figure out what they can do with their businesses, let veterans know about local, national, global resources, depending on the topic. And this week, in this month, we have such an amazing panel. We have Kathleen McKinnon from the Alternative Wellness Centers and Mr. Paul Rifkin with the Veterans for Food and Massachusetts Military Support Foundation. So now that I've given them both a brief introduction, they both do wonderful things in the community for veterans, for cannabis, everywhere they go. So I'm going to ask them both individualized questions, and then at the end, I'm going to ask them some joint questions. So ladies first, Ms. Kathleen McKinnon, would you please tell me a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about the Alternative Wellness Centers?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ellen, for having me on today. Veterans are really a cause that are near and dear to my heart. My dad was a Korean War veteran, so and he was part of the Disabled American Veterans, so really means a lot to me. I have a health and education background. I was a special ed teacher at an inner city school for a few years. Then I went back to school for dental hygiene. I did that for about 10 years, and that's all about total health and wellness for the body. I've been a cannabis user for about 30 years. And so about 7 years ago, when I saw the first medical marijuana company come across my Facebook feed, I liked it. I started working with them, and I never looked back. In 2018, that company had a change of ownership, and last June I left the company. And I saw there was still a really great need for patients that needed care and support and education, and patients looking for other modalities of treatment besides just prescription medications. So in October, we opened Alternative Wellness Centers in Hadley, Mass. And then in December, we opened our Worcester office. We are a locally owned, woman-owned company, and we offer other services as well, like CBD massage therapy, acupuncture, IV drip therapy, along with cannabis certifications and education.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And I was wondering, so in the state of Massachusetts right now with COVID and the pandemic, recreational shops have been closed, but medical shops have remained open. With the alternative wellness centers, have you seen an influx in patients, both civilians and veterans?
Absolutely, a big influx. When things first started closing in March and people were getting laid off, we certainly didn't think getting their certification would be a priority, or even that they'd be spending money on cannabis. What we didn't count on was rec sales being shut down and how many true recreational purchasers are using this as a medicine. We hear that multiple times a day from patients calling in for appointments. And to many people, especially veterans, cannabis is a lifeline to pain relief, to easing anxiety, to getting a few good hours of sleep. And what surprised us really was how many recreational purchasers didn't realize the amount of tax they were paying and the substantial savings and discounts that they receive as a patient. And many of the dispensaries have ongoing veterans discounts to cut the cost for their medication as well.
Oh my gosh, thank you for all that wonderful information. And something new that's happened with the pandemic is these telecommunications with the patients and the doctors, which we didn't have before. What are your feelings on telecommunications, and do you think it's something that should be here to stay?
Oh, absolutely. Telemedicine or telehealth is absolutely needed and should be permanently adapted into the state's medical marijuana program. There are many people, veterans included, without access or transportation, with illnesses or conditions that keep them homebound or bedridden, and not just during the pandemic, year round. Telemedicine allows them the opportunity to consult with a provider when and where it's most comfortable for them. And most people think of Massachusetts as a populous, condensed state, but there are still many remote areas where people don't have access to getting to a doctor. And there are other states out there like Maine and New York that allow telemedicine all the time for cannabis certifications. And I really think that the response of the Massachusetts cannabis providers during this pandemic should be a testament to the fact that they can consult with new and renewing patients and have a good education and consult with them through telemedicine. We do have to remember, though, it is important to use a secure HIPAA-compliant platform so all of the patient's medical information stays safe.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm learning so much. I appreciate it. And then what are some of your thoughts on community involvement with veterans? And do you have any ideas for how companies or organizations in the industry might help veterans?
Absolutely. As an industry, there are many ways we can give back to veterans or get involved with the veteran community. There are always volunteer opportunities, from distributing care packages, transporting veterans to appointments or to vote, organizing and maybe teaching an online class. If you're a grower, perhaps you can mentor a veteran. Helping vets is another great idea. Maybe veterans with trades can help other veterans learn those new trades. And other things that would help veterans groups are, assisting with monthly check-ins, doing podcasts or video content, educational and appreciation events, and, donating scholarships for certification and medication, because that's what they need.
Oh my gosh, those are so many wonderful ideas, and I hope that we see them applied. And I know that's definitely something that you do, you lead by example. And also, as a wellness center, what types of conditions are you seeing veterans reporting, and what are some of the other conditions that might develop due to something like post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, of course, PTSD is the main diagnosis among veterans. However, we see other conditions that are presenting because of that, mainly insomnia, anxiety, stress. And when these conditions are left untreated, they can lead to illnesses such as high blood pressure, heart disease, and other serious conditions. And cannabis really helps to relieve stress. It improves the quality of life. It improves the quality and the amount of sleep, and that helps the body to achieve that balance. So we see many other conditions that result from, PTSD and other things.
That makes sense, and it's important for veterans to know that there are wellness centers like yours where they can go and they can get a whole a lineup of treatment and talk with somebody who's educated and who's been. You might not be a veteran in the I solemnly swear or affirm sense, but you're an absolute warrior in the industry and an OG in everything that you do. Thank you so much. And when we talk about things like making sure that patients have discounted or certifications or free certifications, I think that's something that you can definitely speak to, because would you be able to tell me how that started here in the state of Massachusetts for free recommendation days? I feel like you had something to do with it.
Well, like I said, it is something that's very near and dear to me. So back in May of 2015, with Memorial Day approaching, Kevin Kafka, who was the founder of the company that I previously worked for, he and I had a midnight call, and we were discussing how we could best honor our men and women that have served our country. And after batting around some ideas, we decided to do a free day of certifications. And so the very first veterans event was held in South Dennis down on Cape Cod in May of 2015. We certified 72 veterans that day. And I will always remember that. And I'll always remember the first person in line. It was a woman, an older woman, who had driven all the way from Pittsfield, Massachusetts to the Cape. And she was parked in that parking lot at 8:30 in the morning that day. And, you know, it just, the whole day was really moving. And I think what moved me the most was really how thankful they were and the camaraderie between the generations of veterans that were there. And it was, you know, they were so thankful, not just because they were getting a free certification, but because they were in a place where they could discuss cannabis, not be judged, learn what might work for them, and, you know, allows them the ability to explore other options and not have that judgment hanging over their shoulders. You know, it was like a giant reunion and support group all rolled into one. It was a very cathartic day. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And now with the alternative wellness centers, you have kept it going. You're keeping it alive 5 years later, and you're still, you know, on the front lines of this. And thank you so much for everything you do, everything you're doing, continuing to do. And speaking of Memorial Day, with this Memorial Day weekend coming up, please tell me, what is it that you have going on with the alternative wellness centers and some of the different veteran organizations?
Yeah, alternative wellness centers, we are having a quarantine style appreciation event. So while we can't be in the office for one solid day, we've decided to kind of think outside of the box and involve the community. We have donated 120 free veteran certifications to different organizations across the industry. And you know, NEVA is a great organization that's very close to us. We work very closely with them. They've received the most certifications to give out, and you know, we tell them if there's ever a veteran that's in need, to please reach out to us. You know, not just at Memorial Day, but you know, anytime throughout the year. It's important.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. We're all gonna, you know, share the resources that you're working with. And now I'm gonna bring it on over to Mr. Paul Rifkin. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Mr. Paul Rifkin, thank you for your service. You are an Army veteran. Can you please tell me a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure, thank you for having me. Honored to be here. So my name is Paul Rifkin. I live in Mashpee, Cape Cod, and just turned 78. And I was in the Army from 1960 to 1962 during the Berlin crisis. So I've done a lot of different things with my life, mainly because I never really could figure out what I wanted to do with my life. So I've lived through a series of adjustments and changes and modalities and jobs and women and places to live and drugs. And now I find myself embarrassingly still alive at this late date. So I've always been in the one constant thread in my life has been service. I was walking down the street in New York with my father. I was 6 years old, 1948, and my dad was an unusual man. He was a union organizer, and he was a socialist, and he used to go up, if there was someone on the other side of the street sitting down with a tin can looking for a handout, my father would cross the street and go over there to put money in the tin, rather than what most people would do, which is go to if they were on that side of the street, they would cross over to avoid the encounter. And there was something about watching my dad do that, and he wasn't doing it to brag or show off. He just was, he cared about people. And luckily, whatever that thing was that was in his heart and soul, I got some small part of. And so I've been involved with a variety of activities, from civil rights and anti-Vietnam War and peace in general at a national and world level, to more specific stuff now, which is work that I do in my more locally in my community, where I've started or participated in a number of community activities that hopefully benefit Cape Cod and the larger community. My politics tend a little toward the radical, and I demonstrate, and I've been arrested 7 times doing civil disobedience, and I have a standout. I have a 3-year standout every Saturday in Falmouth now, trying to get rid of the existential threat that seems to be threatening the survival of the planet, and that's Donald Trump. And I started programs for the homeless and saved monarch butterflies and a whole lot of stuff like that. Critics of mine call that stuff do-gooderism, as if there's something the matter with that. But I consider my life in this regard to be a feather in my cap. So right now I'm involved with veterans, helping active duty and military veterans. And what brought me to that is, number one, I'm a veteran, and number two, I'm in love with a veteran, a young woman who is a veteran of the Air Force on Cape Cod, who I absolutely adore. She might even be on this panel. And no names. And I think that the government needs to hide its head in shame about the way it treats veterans. And they go over and they put their lives on the line for the country, and they come back and they really don't receive the help that and the plaudits and the glory that they should be getting. And right now, it's at the level where everybody's struggling financially, and the vets are certainly, and the active duty here on the Cape, cost of living is real high. And so we have Joint Base Cape Cod. I love the title of it. It kind of brings this whole panel together, Joint Base Cape Cod. They don't make enough money there to support raising families on the base or in other places on the Cape and in New England in general. And so a number of groups have formed. The first group that formed, it was in 1914, and it was called Cape Cod Military Support Foundation. And the mission was to, exactly what the title was to support, mostly then it was directed toward active duty, because there were a lot of groups back then on the Cape that were in support of veterans specifically. So that organization has been in existence now for 6 years. And since then, other organizations have grown from that. And the basic mission is, if a vet needs help, if a vet or an active duty military person needs help, we provide it. And that help can be either food, clothing, counseling, baby clothing, whatever the need is. We have provided put different systems in place to answer the need. In 2017, the thing expanded from the Cape Military Support Foundation to the Massachusetts Military Support Foundation. Both of them are 501c3s, and both of them mostly give out food now. Mostly the focus is on food. And the thing expanded again in 2019 to become USA Veterans and Military Support Foundation, and that takes care of all of New England from Maine to Long Island and up to Albany, New York. We're members of the Greater Boston Food Bank, and we also receive donations from many places, including many large supermarkets like Stop and Shop and Shaw's and Ocean State Job Lot and Roach Brothers. And we live by donations. We live by donations. And the eligibility to receive benefits is you have to, if you raised your right hand and served, or if your husband or wife did, or if you're a Gold Star family, or if it says veteran on your driver's license, or if you have a DD 214, you're eligible. And we have a registration process, and then we give away food. Now, the food is given away all over New England right now. The most recent program that we started is called Food for Vets. And this was initiated since the COVID virus situation struck, and putting us in a new ballpark where a lot of veterans, and we serve a lot of elderly veterans who at this point, or for the last several months, have been afraid to go out of their house because they didn't want to catch the virus, because they were in the vulnerable group. And so we decided to provide a service where they could get food in a box to take home or to be delivered to them. And there's enough food in the box for 2 weeks. And the reason for that is if you get the virus, you then can stay in your apartment for that period of time. You're going to have enough food. You don't have to go out. And so since that program started, we've given out 20,000 boxes across New England. And since 2014, when the Cape Cod Military Support Foundation started, we've given out over 2 million meals to veterans and their families across the region. So that's what we do. There are a number of ways you can get in touch with us. I'll give you the number one way, the easiest way. And if you have a pencil, call me or email me. My name is Paul Rifkin, Paulrif as in Frank, Kin. My phone number is 508-737-9545. And my email is my name, Paul Rifkin @comcast.net. So I'm happy to talk or hear from anyone who needs help in any way. And I promise I will be responsive and connect you to who can help you in whatever area you are. I'm going to give you one more phone number, which is a more general number for the Massachusetts Military Support Foundation, and that's 617-755-7143. All the organizations that I mentioned, they all have websites, Facebook pages, and they all list different locations, when and where they're going to be giving away food. As I mentioned, you need to register. All that information can be found on the websites or the Facebook pages. Or if you have questions, you can't figure it out for yourself, call me and I'll make sure you're going to be part of the program. Love you all. Stay safe. God bless.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. That was so much wonderful information. And I know that you can volunteer. If you're not able to volunteer time, you can always donate funds because they are a nonprofit. They are a state-run organization. which I think is also really important to mention. And Paul, with a lot of what you're doing with this organization, bringing awareness, going to the places where they're handing out the food and helping support in any way you can, you serve a very unique role because you're the person behind the camera, documenting history, taking pictures of what's happening, and then, through that, letting people know what's happening. As someone who's behind the camera observing, have you seen this pandemic bring out the good in people?
I've been moved to tears any number of times by what I've witnessed. I just want to track back for a second, and thank you for putting this into focus. So who might want to be contacting the organizations or me who are listening, there would be three groups. One would be if you have need, two, if you want to volunteer to help, and three is if you want to donate. So any and all of those pieces, I'm happy to help find places for you, and the more the merrier in every regard. So Ellen and I were at Gillette a couple of weeks ago where they were giving away food. And this was an unusual situation where they were giving away fresh food. Usually what we do is give away either boxed or canned food because we don't have refrigeration in every community that we can make use of. In Gillette, Bob Kraft gave us the whole stadium, including the walk-in freezer, which is almost as big as the football field. And Bob Kraft was actually there when we were there, and he was. I think it was the first time he left his house since the pandemic started. But what moved me the most there was there were people waiting in cars for hours in order to get a box of food. And these people weren't, I've worked at food pantries, and I've worked with homeless people, and that's not who these people were. These people look like whoever is on this panel and whoever is on this panel's boyfriend or girlfriend or mother or father. Well, not my mother and father, because they're really not looking so good right now. But they're regular people needing to stand online in their car for hours in order to receive a box of food, which tells me that this country is hurting right now, and people are not bringing in a paycheck to be able to buy groceries, feed their families. And the gratitude that was expressed by everybody and the love of all that was given out by all the volunteers really just so very moving. Sorry.
No, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. You both, this is why I wanted both of you on the panel, because you both are there to help people, and you both get moved by seeing what your compassion and what the compassion of others is able to give back to people. So I'm going to go to some joint questions and ask you both. I think especially with this pandemic going on and COVID going on and social distancing going on, it's important to check in. It's important to check in with our veteran community. As we know, we're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. I'm going to post a phone number here in case anybody ever needs to call the hotline. It's there. It's 24 hours. And just to, you should check in on everyone, veterans, civilians, friends, family. And I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to check in on you two. How have you been? How are you doing? How are you handling this pandemic? And do you have any tips or tricks for people at home? And we'll start with Kathleen.
Yeah, well, I've been working quite a bit. I still have two of my kids at home. Thankfully, they haven't left yet, although before this I was wondering. I'm glad they're here. But I have friends who live alone, and my sister is a nurse on the front lines, treating COVID patients. So it's important to check in with them regularly. And if you're home and you're following social distancing, that doesn't mean you have to isolate. Pick up the phone, learn how to Zoom, and connect, with your friends and your family. If you're staying home and you're out of work, and you have some time on your hands and you find yourself getting more anxious these days, then maybe, try learning some meditation techniques or simple stretches, maybe some, a yoga routine. These are, all things that can help with keeping anxiety at bay, getting you a better night's sleep, and just kind of overall keeping you healthy, not just now, but, anxiety is high these days, and we definitely have to check in with one another.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That's wonderful advice. Mr. Rifkin, what about you?
So I go through highs and lows with the situation. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I forgot that I have my blinds closed and I'm just in my bedroom, and I can actually forget for a minute what's happening. And those are really precious moments for me, and they're rare. Sometimes I have much more profound nightmares than I've ever had before in my life. And I wake up shaking and so scared for the world that I'm literally shaking. My body is shaking and my brain is shaking. And it often takes a while to shake it out. On the other hand, everything seems so endangered now that everything has become more precious to me. People that I am close to are more meaningful to me. My relationships are more important than they've ever been, and I spend more time nourishing them than I ever have in the past, both with abstraction, meaning the internet and emails and telephone and texting and what we're doing now, but also I'm not staying in my apartment. I go out, and mostly I go out to be by myself, go somewhere, walk around with my camera, look for beauty and capture it. And the precious thing in relation to my art here, I've never been able to find beauty and meaning in almost every moment as I can now. And I'm taking more pictures that have more soul and robustness than I ever have before. And I'm able to happily, as you mentioned earlier, connect my art with my service, with my politics. And so I'm not just taking pictures of beautiful swans in the early morning rays of the sun coming up. I'm also able to take pictures of beautiful volunteers giving of themselves for others. And my ability to provide in this way artistically and to my community and help people is really important and rewarding for me. And I think I may have a fairly decent shot of going to heaven, whatever. There can be some arguments there. But what I'm suggesting is, whatever you are, whoever you are, live it big right now, because we really don't know what is happening moving forward. And I have so many fears because of this toxic combination of this virus and the sickness that's leading this country. Leading is the wrong word, but this toxicity of the combination of the two could lead toward anything, including we're not going to wake up tomorrow morning. So my suggestion is live your life now, because this is what we have. Cherish what we have, and do what you can to make it better.
Absolutely. Carpe diem, live for the now. And it's really important. I think it's important that you're taking pictures and finding beauty. And I think it's important that you're, taking the time to help patients. You guys are both volunteering and getting involved in, very different ways, but very important and impactful ways. And my next question is, are there any resources that you can think of for either veterans or civilians that would be good to know, either for this time during the pandemic or just to have for resources?
Well, I think, Paul mentioned quite a few of them that are available out there. Groups like the Mass Military Support Foundation, NEVA USA, PenFed, which actually offers emergency financial relief, loans for veterans for housing, things like that, financial assistance. There's the suicide hotline. There's groups like Vets for Warriors, veterans caregiving strategies, and places like Headstrong, which are a really good mental health resource for veterans in this time. So, just kind of seeing what's out there, and all of us, we're resources. We're the best kind of resources that can be there for them and help them find what they need and help them navigate, the systems when they're unable to do it. There are times where people are contemplating suicide where, the only thing they can think of is, the next 5 minutes. They can't think of anything beyond that. So, it's up to us to really step in and help those veterans kind of navigate what the rest of their life can be and how to help them achieve that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. And how about you, Mr. Rifkin? Do you have any more?
No other resources. I think, they've been, a lot of them have been covered quite well. I just want to add a note, however, because I always have a note to add, don't be embarrassed or ashamed about needing help. I've run into a lot of that, both here now with the military support stuff that I'm doing. A lot of veterans and a lot of homeless people who I've done a lot of work with here on the Cape, they're proud people, and they're not in trouble because of anything they did wrong. They're just in trouble, and they're in trouble like any one of us can be in trouble. And ask for help rather than fall back on your pride, because if you fall back on your pride now, you're going to be dead real soon. And there are places and people that want to hug you, unfortunately, only in a virtual way right now, but in a way that can keep you in your home, can keep food in your home, and can let you have hope. But you need to ask for it. If you need help, ask for it. There's no shame in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's so important. Absolutely. And oh my goodness, it is true what they say. All good things must come to an end. And I've learned so much. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to ask if either of you have any final thoughts. And then also, where can we make sure that we can follow up with you and find your organizations?
Well, I just feel it's important to think about veterans, not just on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but every day. And, as I said, we are their best resources. We need to make sure that we reach out to veterans and not just veterans, but, elderly people who are shut in, Throughout this whole pandemic, I've been answering a lot of the phones for my company, and I'm hearing from people who just want to talk. I find myself on the phone with for an hour with somebody who just has nobody to talk to. But you know what? If that's the type of service that I can provide right now, then I'm going to be an ear that's there to listen. And we're just seeing that over and over. So the more we can, be of service to the people that have been of service to us in our country, I think it's a better place for everybody. And then I can be found Alternative Wellness Centers is my new company, and we're at allwellnesscenters.com. We're also on Facebook at Alternative Wellness Centers, Instagram Alternative Wellness Centers. You can give us a call. Very easy number, 617-420-7890. So we can be found.
Fantastic. And I know people will be coming to you. Thank you so much. And Mr. Rifkin, how about you? Where can we find you? Pardon words.
You can always find me right here in my apartment, except when I'm out. So parting words would be, I'll take calls or emails from everyone anytime, day or night. I don't work, so if you wake me up, I'll talk to you and then I'll go back to sleep. And it's 508-737-9545. Paul Rifkin, Paulrif as in Frank, KIN, at Comcast.net. So closing, I say stay high, stay safe. God bless. I love you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you for everything you do. Please make sure to support their page and like them, and definitely support all of their efforts and everything that you do at the Alternative Wellness Centers. Paul Rifkin, thank you so much, and make sure to check out and like their page, the Massachusetts Military Support Foundation, Food for Vets, one word, all capitalized. And you guys can't see it, but behind the scenes we have Mr. Grant Ellis, and we have Lorna McCaffrey from the Massachusetts MassCann Normal, and they're behind the scenes making this happen. And like I said, this is a non-for-profit, so if you can, make sure to support them any way you can. Make sure to donate, whether it's finances or time. They're always looking for resources, and thank you both for being such great resources to the veteran community. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service, and I'm looking forward to, oh my gosh, Kathleen, what are you going to do in the next 5 years,
Well, I'm hoping when this is over, I can go on a nice long vacation. But
you earned it. You earned it. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Love you.
Thank you for having us.